All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, going over the online PDF AppInventor2, Create Your Own Android Apps by Wilbur, Abelson, Spertus, and Looney. We're in the middle of Chapter 6, the ParisMapTour, and I manually put in these pretty URLs right here. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. I don't think I did. All right. So I've done this. I created a global variable called URLs. Into it I added the list. I clicked the blue button right there to add a third component, and I pasted those in. Okay? All right. Modifying the list picker after picking behavior. In the first version, set the data URI to remember we used that join to combine the maps.google URL and Q equals, and then we use the destination of the list. In this second version, as it says, the after picking must be more sophisticated because the user is choosing from one list from a destination, but the app is choosing from the URLs list for the URL. Specifically, as mentioned here, when the user chooses an item from the list picker, you need to know the index of that choice so you can connect to the correct URL and have the results show in the web viewer. They're going to go over it a little bit more in just a minute, but this is what they're saying you're going to want to do. Again, the after picking is triggered when the user chooses the item. The selected index is the index for the item. The select list item will select an item from the URL list. The get global URLs will, as it says, a list of URLs. And the web viewer go to URL will actually load the correct one in there. So this is what we want to do in the after picking. All right. So notice right up above it, when the user chooses an item from the list picker, the after picking event is triggered as is shown on the screen here. The chosen example is Eiffel Tower. All right, so we used this earlier. However, the list picker also has a property called selection index, which corresponds to the position of the chosen index. So I'm going to blow this up a little so hopefully you can see it very well. All right, so I've got this. Right now my list picker after picking is empty, so we want to call the web viewer, go to URL. There it is. Tell you what, let's collapse this. All right. And here we want to select the list item list. And we want to get the global URLs for the top one. And we want the list picker dot selected index for the bottom. All right, I believe that's everything that we need here, and I believe that's correct. So as it says, you use the list picker dot selection index to select an item from the URL list. This works because the items on the two lists, the destinations, and the URLs are in sync with one another. The first destination corresponds to the first URL, the second to the second, the third to the third. So even though the user chooses the item from one list, all right, you can use their choice to select the right URL to show. So let's take a look and see if it works. Okay, choose the destination, Let's try a different one. So we'll try the Cathedral Notre Dame. When this happens, it's kind of bad because sometimes it may be just loading a bunch of stuff, but you think that it's not working, so you try it again. I am going to just one more time try it again and see if it brings up the list box again. I'll let that hopefully move on. So that's the complete code is shown right here, and I believe I have everything in there. All right, there's two global variables that we're initializing to both the list pickers, one that has our three buttons, so to speak, and one that has the corresponding pretty URLs. Our initialize, which is going to make sure that our list is set up when the program starts, and our after picking. So they give you some variations in here. Create a virtual tour of your workplace or school, so you just have to change a bunch of the URLs. Explore activity starter, use it to send an email. Then they've got another one here that they say is difficult. Create a customizable virtual tour app that lets the user create a guide for a location by entering the name, etc. in the URL. That would take more work. So in this chapter, we learned that you can use list variables to hold data such as map destinations and URLs. We used the list picker components to allow us to choose from a list of items. We worked with the activity starter component, where we used it to launch another app from our app. So in our first example, we demonstrated this with the Google Maps application, but you can launch, as it says, a browser to any other Android app, as well as one you've created yourself. And finally, you can use the listPicker.selection index to get the position for an item that the user chooses from a list. All right, we'll come back and revisit this a little bit in chapter 17. So let's see what we have here. Nothing happened, and I don't think I have anything that's incorrect in here. Not sure why it's not working, but what I'll try to do during the break is to map my code up with the code that's in the book. All right, and I'll be back to go over the next chapter, which is chapter 7, and chapter 7 is Android, Where's My Car? So we'll be back with that one shortly.